So thank
Yeah.
you so much once again for joining us. It's such a wonderful day for us. It's a great pleasure, a true privilege. And on behalf of this group, Kristi, we are very grateful for the huge generosity of sharing your precious time with us. We are above all thrilled to be here with you. We know that you receive many invitations, so this only makes us even more grateful for the opportunity of being here with you. And as you know, Kristi, this is a group composed by business and thought leaders of many of Brazil's leading companies and institutions. And under this leadership program, we debate critical issues every month, not only about professional life, but about life from a broader perspective. So our role here is to kind of expand awareness and consciousness. So on top of that, we have these special sessions with inspiring human beings like yourself, who are, our guides to not only think better about these subjects, but of course to act accordingly and live in a different way. And so for the sake of starting this event in a more formal way, I would like to highlight to all participants that Kristi Nelson is the author of the wonderful book, Wake Up Grateful, the transformative practice of taking nothing for granted. And she is the ambassador and former executive director of Grateful Living, an organization with a mission of empowering people to live meaningful lives through the transformative practice of grateful living. And Kristi life's work is in the nonprofit sector, has focused on leading, inspiring, and strengthening organizations committed to progressive social and spiritual change. And being a long time stage 4 cancer survivor moves Kristi every day to support others in living and loving with great fullness of heart. So, Kristi, without further ado, and based on our previous conversation, perhaps we could start off with yourself, if you could, because there are many new people here, to talk a little bit about your life story and what have you learned in this journey called life. And then, of course, I have some questions here. I'm going to make a couple of them and then open for the other questions from the members of our group, whom I also greet and thank very much for being here. So please feel very welcome. We really feel a great kind of connection with you. So simply wonderful. Thank you.
I always want to be one of you. Whenever I'm whenever I'm with you, I think, okay, I want to be a virtuous Brazilian leader. It would be a lot, but at least I could be an honorary. And the values that you represent and what you stand for as a community just mean so much to me. So I'm really honored to be in your presence and to share what I might be able to share. In these 2 years, a lot has happened, and a lot has happened in in my life and also on the political stage in the United States, and there's a lot to contend with, and I think there's important conversations to have, and where gratefulness fits into the whole constellation of how we live and how we respond and how we lead our lives from a place of gratefulness when there is so much to also be concerned about. And so I start acknowledging that because that feels incredibly important to me, not to ignore the context that we're living in. So I just taught a class at Columbia University the day before yesterday. I was at Columbia and I was teaching a class on the science of well-being and bringing gratefulness to these young students. And it's really fascinating to be with people who are 18 to 21 years old and to look at what it is that they're holding about the future and about their lives and to see where gratefulness might be of relevance there. So I also say that in terms of acknowledging just the importance of cultivating hope and intention and direction for the future. Um, that, we speak among ourselves in a particular way, and there's also a relevance to people who are young and just starting out in their lives that is so important. And so I felt really honored to be with them as well. So this is a great week. I start with these young, aspiring, virtuous leaders, and now I am here with you fully entrenched in your own virtuous leadership. So,
Not so
um,
young, not so young, but
not
We
still
are
young.
all young, Kristi.
young, everyone's young. Well, the work that I've done also too since I last spoke with you is I've really started focusing on the topic of bringing gratefulness into aging, and as we age, really having very profound conversations with people about what a gift it is to get to age. And in our culture, at least anyway, aging is regarded not very favorably. And yet I think, what's the alternative? The alternative, I faced that alternative when I was 33 years old. The possibility of not living and not getting to age. So just a little bit of my cancer story is, if it's a repeat for some of you, thank you for indulging me. But just, I had a very big wake up call at 32 years old when I got tremendously ill and then was not diagnosed and misdiagnosed for 9 months while this cancer was progressing through my body. It's not that unusual, actually. People say, well, that's so rare. But cancer is in and of itself a mysterious phenomenon. It is in and of itself an aberration. And so we're always learning and trying to track these things down. By the time they had diagnosed me, um, it had metastasized to my spine. So I had to have part of my spine removed. I had my spine fused. I couldn't walk for a period of time. And so at 32 years old, which I kind of considered this peak time in life to be able to imagine a future, I felt like that was really taken from me. And so I had this prognosis, which was, 3 years. In 3 years, it is likely you'll have a recurrence. And when you have a recurrence, you will not survive that recurrence. So that was a wild container in which to get very, very interested in what mattered most to me. And that's where I think this work of gratefulness really lives, is it wakes us up when we don't take life for granted. So what happened for me was I realized I could no longer take life for granted. I couldn't take my body for granted. I couldn't take my capacities for granted. I couldn't take a future for granted. And so it brought me very profoundly into the now, into the present moment, which is what I learned was the greatest gift in the world, was to really learn to be here 100% as much as I could in the moments that I had without expectations of the future, but greeting every future unfolding as an opportunity, a surprise, a miracle, a privilege. I really believe that this idea that as we get every day that we get is a tremendous privilege, that not everybody else is getting another day. There are so many people around the world right now who would give anything for the day that we have. And to not honor that is to not honor the privilege of life, to really be awake and alive to the opportunities that we have in every single day, is to honor to me the people I've lost in my life who would give anything to have the day that I have, the day that we have. So I woke up to that awareness at a pretty young age, and I've now lived twice as long as I'm 60, almost 66. So that's, I can't even believe, and it's like I live my life kind of in a sense of, I don't take it for granted. I live with awe, in a state of awe that I get another day. When I wake up in the morning, I don't forget that this is an extraordinary privilege that's not promised to me. and that I don't know what tomorrow is going to hold. But when I wake up to a day, I get pretty excited about having at least the hours that I have in this day. And then to not take for granted, I have no idea how long I'm going to live, and how, in the space of that not knowing, that uncertainty, what I like to call, as opposed to people talk all the time about living in this place that's really frightening, that is uncertainty and not knowing. We don't like, at least in the US as a culture, to live in a state of not knowing. We like to know things. We like to believe we know things. We like to think we've got everything figured out. And so uncertainty is, I like to frame uncertainty and not knowing as mystery, as the great mystery. I live inside the great mystery that every single day I have no idea what's going to unfold, really. I can have all my plans, but life has another way of getting in the way of our plans sometimes, you know? So so in that mystery that every single day truly is, none of us know, really. How do we live our most vibrant, virtuous lives? How do we live our fullest lives? How do we connect to what matters most deeply to us and not take the opportunities of each moment for granted? And what is interesting about that is when I say that, I think, oh, that could create such a sense of urgency, you know, to not take our lives for granted. It's like, oh, you know, how do we live every day as if it's potentially our last day? I don't think that's actually something that I prescribe. I think it would make me too panicked, all the people I would want to see and all the things I would want to do if I thought that every day was my last day. It's too much. It's too much. But if I say what I know I have is today, I have today, I have now, and what do I want to do to fulfill on the promise of today, on the gift of this moment, and what's available to me? That for me, that's kind of the biggest lessons that I've learned from cancer. I hope that answers your question somewhat, going all over the place, but it's pretty extraordinary to have gotten to live 33 years without expecting to live. And I still try to hold that because I think expectations dull us and numb us to the blessings of life, to the gift of life. The more we expect, the more easily we are disappointed. And so when I live with hope as opposed to expectation, I find that I'm much more alive. And I would say that for me, unconditional aliveness, this is something that I'm always very eager to talk about. How do we feel unconditionally alive right till the very last moments of our life? We can feel aliveness is the most vibrant state of being. So aliveness is that sense of kind of being fully present, fully available to life, awake, aware, alert, available, is to be fully alive. And that's my hope and dream, is to be as fully alive to every moment as I can, right till my very last moment. And I think that's an aspiration worthy of our intentions. And without knowing what life is going to offer us, it's a great way to choose to live, is to say, I'm here for the unfolding of life. I'm fully available for the unfolding of life in whatever form that takes. I'm fully here. So that's our choice.
Wonderful, Kristi, wonderful. And well, thank you so much. And how does, facing your own mortality change the way you approach it? And not only the idea of gratefulness, but, other aspects of your life, such as the relationship with people, with
Yeah.
your relatives, friends, your relationships with your work. and even
Yes.
your relationship with your personal fulfillment, the concept of success. How does this all impacted the way you live your life and these relationships?
Such a good question. I I feel um, that there's something very rich about befriending mortality because it's the ultimate, and I'm looking at Dr. Jamal, that when we befriend the idea that we ourselves, our lives are not permanent, we are not permanent fixtures. We are not here forever. And so what does it mean to be temporary? And how do we that everything is temporary, on some level. And then what does that ask us to then offer into our lives and offer into the moments and the people that we have available to us? And what it does is it says, okay, if you have this blessing for right now, I'm going to quote Elizabeth Gilbert, who is an author. I don't know if some of you know. Elizabeth Gilbert says, "We are a culture of purpose anxiety." And so what's interesting is purpose anxiety, when people are all kind of driven for this sense, and I think this is a relevant conversation, hopefully, for this group, because I find it tremendously relevant, is the idea that we need to figure out what our purpose is, and everybody was born with one purpose, and you got to find it, or else you're kind of a failure, and that you're driven, and everybody has a unique purpose, and it's like it's unique, and it's got to be kind of spectacular. And so what she says that I think is important here in this conversation is that purpose is in some ways something that is toward the future, and also it's about leaving a legacy in the past. So it's kind of purpose being future and past oriented. And what's really powerful is when I think, well, what happens if what is present, what's available to us and present to us now, is actually our purpose? What if being as fully present as we can possibly be, which is really a very profound calling? Because often we think that we're present, and then when we get asked, like, can you be a little bit more present? Is there anything that you can leave behind? We tend to be I love this term, preoccupied. We're already occupied. When we like preoccupied means your being, your attention is already focused on something before you've even arrived. So that's such an interesting idea to me, to be preoccupied.
And Christian, the word in Portuguese is the same. It's preocupado. It's preoccupied.
Preoccupied.
Yes.
Preoccupado. Okay, well, there we go. So if you're preoccupied, then you're not actually really where you are. You can't be occupied with the present moment. So I think one of the great goals of life is to learn to be more and more present for everything that's unfolding. And what's interesting in that space is that it's such an enrichment for me of the relationships that I am in. When when I don't count on one of the things that we take most for granted, people say, there's a wonderful quote. One of my favorite quotes is by Marlon Rico Lee, and he says, be grateful for the things and people you have in your life. Everything you take for granted, someone else is praying for, right? So be grateful for the things and people you have in your life. Everything you take for granted, someone is praying for. And for me, that means everything: a roof over our heads, a window, a home, warmth when it's cold outside, love, people, care. Um, and the thing that I think we take most for granted is time. I think, Marlon Rico Lee is saying, don't take the things and people in your life for granted. But what's interesting is I think we take time for granted more than anything. And so we assume that there's a lot of time left ahead to fulfill on the things that are important to us, of the people we want to be forgiven by, to repair the relationships that we're in, to deepen the relationships that we're in. And if you don't take time for granted, because regret is really painful, and when someone we love is no longer here, and we haven't taken the opportunity to be as present and healing and loving as we can be with the people we love, and to let them know how much we respect, appreciate, care for them. Um, those missed opportunities live as really powerful regrets in our heart. They're a weight on our heart. They're hard to overcome. And so that then takes a different kind of work from us, to get through those things. So I always say, when I hug people hello, I usually hug just a bit too long. And when I tell people that I love them, I'm usually a little too effusive. And when I say goodbye to people and hug them goodbye, I definitely hug too long. And so for me, because in truth, like a lot of conditions in life, we don't know if we're going to see the people we love again. And so I don't take that time and that opportunity for granted, which means that I tend to show up into the conversations and relationships that I have in a way that if I don't see that person again, I've left an imprint of my heart on them. And I've not just lived in this assumption and expectation that there's more opportunity ahead. And so that changes the nature very much of how I live my days. It keeps me very busy loving. I'm like that's what it's it kind of puts appreciation front and center in my relationships. But you could ask most anybody I know right now, and the people who are really in my life and with whom I've worked, if they've felt and heard my appreciation for them. And the answer really would really pretty much always be yes, because it means that if there is conflict or if there's difficulty, I'm not conflict averse, but I'm really conflict. Hang on, something's popping up on my screen. I'm very conflict expedient. I really want to move quickly into, deepen, resolve, and get through to the other side of conflict. Conflict matters so much to me because I struggle with it so much that I'm a harmony addict. I call myself a little bit, like it's kind of embarrassing, but what that means is that I don't avoid conflict, but I'm really intent on when it arises to resolving it and getting to love and clarity as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so you don't want to get stuck in the conflicts. And you know that one of the books that we talked during this program is one called High Conflict, which are toxic conflicts, and in a way that it seems a kind of a tar pit that you once you get there you cannot go out of there. It's the metaphor of the author. So it's very bad to be in these tar pits, and it's not
The
easy
tar
to
pit.
go out. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think humility is the powerful antidote to toxic conflict, which is I always know I have so much to learn, and I love being wrong. I've learned to kind of fall in love with the idea that I actually am, because I also love being right. I have loved being right so much in my life. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of like when someone says you're right, I think it's about the sexiest thing I've ever heard in my life. You're right. It's like, oh yay, and I feel all that sense of like esteem. But then what I've realized is if I can approach every situation with the possibility that I actually am wrong, it opens up so much curiosity and inquiry and engagement but humility is the starting place for that.
Wow. Well, we are, there is a big synchronicity here because another book is titled Humility is the New Smart. It's actually one of the books that we start during the beginning of the year, one of the most popular ones. But
Wow.
yes. And Kristi, I'm going to make to ask just another question and then move to Angela, who, as you know, coordinates this program with me. And then we
Yes.
are going to open for the questions of our friends here. So, friends,
Please.
please feel free
Yes.
to raise your hand and make use of this wonderful opportunity. So, Kristi, in your beautiful book, Wake Up Grateful, you mentioned 5 guiding principles for us to have a grateful life? Of course, you have already mentioned them during this kind of in beginning of our conversation, but could you please share them with us? And how did you realize their importance for our well-being in the sense that you made these kind of principles for grateful living?
Well, one of the things that we haven't talked about, but is important to me, is that gratitude, I differentiate gratitude and gratefulness. So this is a really powerful, important grounding in here, because gratitude gets a lot of play in the cult. There's 9 zillion books about gratitude. There's just maybe a few about gratefulness. But gratitude tends to be, and I'll just talk about it culturally, how I know that we relate to it. Gratitude is a reaction to getting something that you want. It's a reaction, it's a feeling that is a response when things go our way. So when we get something we want or things go our way, we tend to feel gratitude. But gratitude is then, therefore, highly circumstantial, highly conditional, highly fleeting. It is so transient. Like, so you can feel gratitude, and then as soon as, something changes, your gratitude goes away. It's a lot like happiness. So I'm a little bit of a downer on happiness and gratitude. So I'm just going to give this is true confessions, but it also opens the way for richer, bigger conversations, which to me are, what are the most robust and unconditional states of being, states of mind, states of heart that we can cultivate? And I think happiness and gratitude tend to be ephemeral and fleeting. They're not lasting, robust experiences that we can really hang our moments and our well-being on. So gratefulness, what I like to say is, gratefulness is gratitude for life. Basically, it's gratitude, it's a lasting thing, and it's actually gratitude for the experience of life. Gratefulness is gratitude for life, which means it lasts, and it has an absence of conditions. You can gratefulness is the gratitude that doesn't depend on what happens. So that's another thing to wrap your head around. There's a beautiful Brother David Steindl-Rast, who is one of my spiritual teachers. He's one of the people I've worked with. He says, joy is the happiness that doesn't depend on what happens. So that's another way to think about that, is like, how can we cultivate these states of being that are more unconditional? Because if they're subject to conditions, we're going to be constantly losing, trying to win, losing, trying to win. And I'm tired of that exhausting path in my own life. So I really do think that gratefulness is a beautiful way to address these ephemeral states. So gratefulness then starts with the first principle, which is life is a gift. We work on the assumption that life is a gift. We didn't do anything to earn it or deserve it. Life is a gift. It is something that is here. And like all gifts, it's sometime going to end. It's not here forever. And so life is this beautiful gift. And the second part of that first principle is life is a gift. When we greet each moment gratefully, or when you greet each moment gratefully, you are always receiving. So gratitude waits to receive something. Gratefulness is always in a state of being aware of what we are receiving from life. Gratefulness is the gratefulness of life. It is, and I love that, because gratitude waits and gratefulness doesn't need to wait for anything, because we can't be grateful for everything, but we can be grateful for every moment. So if life and our breath itself, our very being, if those are the things on which we are hanging the experience of our gratefulness, our gratitude, then we've always got them until the last breath. They never go away. They don't have to go away. So life is a gift. When you greet each moment gratefully, you are always receiving. Beautiful. The second one is everything is surprise. Everything is surprise. Everything is open to surprise. So this mystery again, everything is surprising. When you open to wonder, opportunities abound. So we can feel like our lives are this big as long as we think that we need to know everything, we need to plan everything, everything needs to go accordingly. But when we open to mystery, and we open to wonder and awe, our lives expand exponentially because suddenly all these things that are happening become opportunities for us. Every moment becomes an opportunity, right? The third principle is the ordinary is extraordinary. There is no such thing as ordinary anything. An ordinary glass of ordinary water, that makes no sense. Water is extraordinary. Like how the hell did we get water? How did this glass come to me? This glass was probably made in one of those countries we're now putting tariffs on in the United States. This glass was probably made someplace where, and it was shipped and handled and forged by so many people. We can hardly even imagine it. What it took to get to my home is mind-blowing. So instead of thinking there's anything ordinary, what if we think about everything is mind-blowing? Everything is extraordinary. What the hell is ordinary? Anyway, makes no sense to me. So everything has that felt sense of being extraordinary. So the ordinary is extraordinary. When you take nothing for granted, oh, life is abundant. So opportunities abound is the second one. Life is abundant is the next one, which is you take nothing for granted. All of a sudden, the scarcity that we can feel, the I need more that we can feel, I don't have enough that we can feel, the world isn't enough, right? So when we feel that way, it means that we've stopped looking at the extraordinary nature of everything we have. And in a spiritual sense, I'll just use this one quote by Andrea Gibson, who is a poet who died this summer at 49 years old. And Andrea is one of my superheroes. If you ever want to look up some of the most amazing wisdom, Andrea Gibson is a source. And Andrea said, all my prayers were answered when I started praying for what I already have. So that then is a really great direction. Like, what if you start looking at everything you have as an answered prayer? Because what did you use to pray for? This is what I ask people in my workshops. What did you use to, even if you don't believe in prayer, what did you used to long for and imagine and dream about when you were young? And how many of those things do you have now? Like how full is your bucket already? Or do you feel like you need a bucket list to like get to all the things that you want to, that all are dependent on the future? When already our lives are so full of the things that when we were young, we couldn't even imagine. And so if you kind of tie that to what Marlon Rico Lee is saying, everyone is praying for what we already have, right? That the things that we take for granted. It just means, can we pay more attention to what we already have? Can we offer what we already have, our appreciation, our delight, our awe, our wonder? That's really, and then that becomes this that we don't find ourselves constantly wanting and yearning. Oh, am I okay?
Yes,
We
you're
don't
back.
find ourselves constantly yearning back. Thank you. That if we pay attention appreciatively to what we already have, we don't find ourselves yearning for more, 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 more. And that treadmill of always wanting and needing more is insatiable. It is never satisfied. And so turning our attention toward what we already have with appreciation is the fourth principle, which is appreciation is generative. Appreciation is actually generative. When you have a plant and you appreciate it and you take care of it, it grows new leaves. If you don't appreciate what you already have, it dies. Everything flourishes in the nourishment of our appreciation. Relationships, our homes, our lives, our bodies, everything. So the second part of that principle is when you tend what you value thrives. And that would be a virtuous leadership value, big time, right? When you tend what you value thrives. If you don't tend what you value, it's not going to thrive. And you're going to end up with things that you don't value in your life. But that your life is looking for your appreciative attention. And the last principle is love is transformative. Love is actually an active verb. When we love life, when we love other people, we generate so much, and love actually transforms the world. So love is transformative. When you embrace the great fullness of life, your heart overflows. So when you embrace the great fullness of life, which means everything, it means the poignancy of life, the when you open your heart with empathy and compassion, when you engage with other people in a really full way, your heart overflows. And when your heart overflows, that's when you are transformed, and you also transform the people you're around and what you're doing. It's open-heartedness. And one of the things I like to say, and because I work a lot with people in grief, that grief is really open-heartedness. That when our hearts are broken open. And so a lot of times grief is what changes our closed hearts to being open-hearted. And there's pain in that. There's all of that, what I call poignancy, which is the bittersweetness of life comes alive when we're in grief, and we feel what we feel so much more vividly. And that's a state of open-heartedness in which transformation can occur. So those are the 5 principles.
Well, they basically summarize everything that we believe here in the program. So
I told you I was part of your network already without being. I'm a Brazilian virtuous leader without being without being Brazilian or virtuous or a leader.
For
You
us,
are,
you
you
are.
are,
Okay.
you are a virtuous leader. You
Thank you.
inspire everything,
And now I just have to be Brazilian.
everyone.
Yes, yeah. Well, you're invited to come over here to be.
I was in Brazil when I much younger. Yeah, yeah. Salvador and Rio de Janeiro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic. You're
Yep.
always very welcome here, and
Oh,
you have
thank you.
already good guides here. So,
Thank you.
Angela, please.
Okay, Angela, take it away. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Uh,
Alexandra.
Thank you.
thank you so much, Kristi, for this. Wow, your wisdom
Mm.
is mind-blowing. There are so many profound um, uh, themes, subjects that you point out, and
Thank you.
you put them all together. It's difficult even to talk, but I I wrote. So my question is about how to deal with a person that is passing through, for instance, cancer or other disease like it, because I know there are people in this group, or either here or will watch the record. How can we support a family member that is passing through it? In my case, it was my brother with multiple myeloma 10 years ago. And he did chemo, he did the stem cell transplant, and he was very stoic in the process. And I couldn't reach him. It was he had an acid sense of humor, and it was it was very difficult to reach him. So he passed to the spiritual realm 10 years, almost 10, no, 7 years ago, together with the birth of my first son, just one day after the birth.
Wow. Wow.
So I wonder if you have something to speak about. How can we live this period? How can we be supportive if the person is closed, if we can be anyway, I don't know. And how can we deal with the guilt that comes from being here after all that?
I'm so sorry for the loss of your brother, and I'm so grateful for you and your question. And I think it's very difficult to know how to be close to people when they're in a process of being quite ill, and also when when they when we know that they're potentially passing, when they're near death. And yet, I think one of the things that's so hard is to let go of an agenda for another human being about what their transformation will look like and what we wish for them. And that for some people, it brings about more suffering to try not to suffer in the ways that we don't want them to suffer, because they're attached to identity, they're attached to all kinds of ways of being in the world, that it is much more terrifying for them to let go of those things than it is to hold on right to the very end. And that somehow, I think, figuring out how to keep someone company through that process, to be with them and let them know that we love them and that we're here at any moment. Like, the truth is, we don't know. Perhaps your brother had a profound awakening and transformation in his very last moment of life. We don't know. We don't know when transformation is going to occur and when someone's going to be open to healing, a very deep kind of healing, and what's going to go in. And so I would say that our need to try to impress upon people what we think, it becomes has a reverse effect.
Mhm.
It can. Um, and yet that's what love looks like. That's what, I always want to say, this is what love looks like. And so I always say to people when I'm around them and I'm trying to engage with them in a particular way, this is what my love looks like. Love for me, for you, Angela, looks a particular way. And your brother, I know, received your care as love, knowing you, knowing you. And I think the best thing to be able to do is just say, I'm right here. I'm right here. Right? I'm here. Um, our doctor friend Jamal may have more to do here, but just to be an unconditional presence, to attach ourselves to as little that we need from that other person as is humanly possible, to know that their awakening is going to be a very different awakening than we might wish for them, or we might have ourselves, or might look like another person's awakening in some way. And there is also there is something about karma, that, like, we don't know what someone's life is about and what it is they're here to fulfill, and what lessons it is that they're here to navigate. And so I think unconditional love is the only thing that we can really offer, and unconditional presence, to be able to say, I'm right here. I'm here. And so that someone knows that no matter what, they're not alone. Um, and I just trust, because your heart is so big, I just trust that you conveyed that really beautifully, Angela. And there is no guilt. Like, what's interesting is, I would say, because I've had so many people who have died of cancer and I'm still alive, like, that just freaks me out. It just really is an incredibly difficult, strange thing to live with, when people around me who are diagnosed with a lower stage cancer have died. And I got to keep living. I get to stay alive when the people I love have died. And so the biggest thing for me is to live every moment in honor of the people we love who are not here, who would give anything for this day. Some part of all the people that we love would give anything for the day that we have. And so if we can live the days that we have in honoring life, in honor of life, which, to me, guess what gratefulness is? Gratefulness is living in honor of life as a gift. When we live gratefully, we live in a way that honors life. And when we honor life, we honor the people who we love who are no longer here to experience it because we're living in honor of knowing that it's a privilege to get to be alive. Not guilty. It's a privilege. It's a privilege.
Beautiful, Kristi. Thank you so much. Thank you. Julia,
Thank you,
please.
Angela.
Hey, Kristi,
Hi,
thank
Julia.
you. Thank you for being with us. I'm reflecting here on your words. They're very beautiful, profound. Thank you.
Oh, thank
I
you.
I see gratitude as my own form of spirituality.
Beautiful.
And I've mentioned this before with this group here. So, and listening to you about don't take life for granted remind me of another author of a book called Five Regrets of the Dying. You
Yeah.
probably know
Frank Ostis. No. Bronnie Ware.
Ware, exactly.
Yeah.
And she says that people at the end of life, especially the regrets that she describes, it's about the relationships, authenticity, and not living true to oneself.
Yep.
And do you see gratitude as a way of living now, what people often only realize when it's almost
Yes.
too late? Is that
100%.
okay?
100%. And I teach Bronnie Ware's work in my workshops and in my
Awesome.
courses.
Yeah.
So, so one of the most profound regrets is I did not let myself be happy. And if
Yeah.
you think about the wording of that, it's not I wasn't happy. I did not let myself be happy. And I did not let the people I love know how much I love them. It's like what it is it's about that we're holding back. So the regrets are about not what got in the way and stopped us, but how we stopped ourselves. I worked too much, right? Nobody was holding a gun to your head, making you work too much. I focused too much on these things. So there are these five regrets. And what I teach is the turnaround. If we're living gratefully, how do we live? And what I talk about it as, I don't think we can do what I call regret prevention, 100% regret prevention, but I think we can really do a good job of regret reduction. That regret reduction is a beautiful commitment to make in life, which is okay, you could literally make a practice, and sometimes I assign this every single day, write to someone who you would have a regret if you didn't tell them something, and make it a daily practice. And that could be, guess what? Here's like something you could say. Guess what? I actually forgave you 2 years ago, but I've been holding on to it because I've been wanting to feel the kind of power that not forgiving gives me. Like, really honest, like, I actually already forgave you. So don't worry about, you don't need to ask for more forgiveness. I love people keep moving around the screen. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
so I'll move my camera. So anyway, so I talk about it as regret reduction, and regret reduction is a really beautiful way to think about living. And the more present we can be, and the more we do not take time and life for granted, the more we're going to live in a way where we don't have as many regrets to reckon with as people who take time for granted. That's absolutely for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that book is life transforming. Yeah,
It is a life transforming.
yeah, it's beautiful, and I know the five regrets by heart. So
Hi, Michael. Oh, good. Oh,
thank you very,
good.
thank you very much.
You're welcome. And gratefulness is what I like to say is gratefulness is vast enough to hold everything. Like gratefulness is so big that it is just takes gratitude and all these other experiences and just makes they feel so small in comparison. So gratefulness is really when we can it wraps its hands around everything, and we can wrap our hands around everything. So I think living gratefully is really beautiful, and I love that that's your practice, Julia. So thank you. Hello, Dr. Jamal.
Hello, Kristi. So good to hear you. It's a great pleasure. And well, I really would like you to help me perhaps 20 or 30 years ago. Today, that you helped me so much. But 32 years ago was born my son, and 28 years ago, my daughter.
Mm.
Well, when they came to life and made me so happy, I saw in me a mission to provide them a decent life until they were really independent. And I lived many, many years, an intense fear of dying before seeing that happen.
Mm.
So my only happiness was to see they grew up and that I could provide them to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't see today. I just saw tomorrow.
Mm.
So because I had to work so hard. My family was a simple family, and I really had to work hard. And many years I couldn't see today.
Mm.
So what could you tell me in this situation that my only grateful was for tomorrow and not for today?
I'm so moved by your reflection and your sharing and your question. One, I want to say, the vulnerability of life and when we bring children into the world, I think we need to be very loving, forgiving, and accepting about all of what that pulls forward in us, the kind of how intense that feels to be responsible for life, and how lucky your children were to have you make their happiness your such a big priority and to provide for them in a way that would give them opportunities and options in life. So I think regretting nothing is your biggest gift. And what would be interesting is perhaps to just say, now that you have a greater capacity to be here and to be present, what do you want to teach them? So from what it is that you've learned that also has created a little bit of suffering for you, in that you feel like you may have missed really significant parts of their lives when you weren't as present as you wanted because you were trying so hard to provide for their future. And I would just lay that bare from my heart to them in whatever way I assume they're both still alive.
Yes.
Then you're a lucky man and you did a good job because I think keeping young humans alive is such a big job. It's like there's no job description like it.
They are alive, they are independent, they are happy, they are beautiful. And so today I can tell you that I can live gratefulness every day. But there were many, many years that was very difficult.
I can't imagine anything more extraordinary than receiving a letter like that from my father. I cannot imagine anything that would be a greater gift because I know he did the same thing out of the responsibilities of his heart, that there is nothing that I would treasure more than to know that my father had the awareness, Dr. Jamal, that had the awareness to become conscious of this at a time when he can still enjoy present moments in his life. That's so beautiful. And that you're aware enough of what you may have cost yourself and them in the earlier parts of their lives when you made their well-being a priority. And there's no greater, like that kind of profound, poignant is the word, that bittersweetness, that we're always making trade-offs. There's no such thing as not making trade-offs in life. And that you made these trade-offs and you're conscious of them now in a way that cracks your heart open to them and you want them to know it. And also, it may be a wish for you that I don't know if they have their own children,
No,
but
check.
when and if they do have children, or when they do, just your hope for them is to be able to be perhaps more present and also equally responsible at the same time, but to be more present than you are able to be.
Sure.
What a beautiful longing that is.
Thank you so much.
My God, thank
I
you
just
so much.
I just wanted to say, Dr. Jamal, that I know Kristi. I had the joy of meeting Camila. It's Dr. Jamal's daughter, and she's 20-year-old, right, Dr. Jamal?
22,
20.
28.
28,
20.
28, yeah. And we were at a retreat coordinated by me for female executives. And she already lived in 5 countries. She speaks 3 languages or more. And everybody, and she was the youngest in that group.
Wow. Wow.
And one of the executives that was there, she mentioned, well, look how a woman can be and achieve when she's fulfilled with love
Mhm.
when she was a child.
Yeah. And supported
Because
and encouraged and
it's
everything.
yeah, because a lot of the others that were there, love was lacked, or even economy and food
Yeah.
in the realm of deficiency
Yes.
and safety. But when we see, and one of them especially pointed out, look, if we proportionate safety and love and all the conditions for a human being to flourish, look what
Hmm.
we have. So, Dr. Jamal, Camila has nothing lack. This letter that Kristi mentioned is for you.
So beautiful.
You to heal yourself and to establish even another kind of relationship. But she's a full woman and a full person and a marvelous human being,
Yeah.
inspired by you and your wife.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're muted.
And yes, and we can tell that our kids, we have 2 kids, Kristi, that Dr. Jamal is very present for them. They love
Mhm.
Dr. Jamal, so you're very present with our kids. So we have to thank you for that. And so, Kristi, can we have time for a last question, please?
Please.
Oh, okay. So,
I do just want to tie up one thing though about Dr. Jamal, if you guys
yeah,
don't mind.
sure,
Because
sure.
I think that what's really important is truth telling. Like truth telling is also like it's beautiful to reassure ourselves and to be reassured, and reassurance carries a particular weight. But I also think that for us, when we really kind of make a full inventory and make amends and do our own deep reflection, that those things are so powerfully healing for ourselves and for the world. And so I just want to encourage you that I think it's possible to be really grateful for exactly the feelings that Dr. Jamal is having, and not to push those aside with what might sometimes feel like just, it sounds like his daughter at least is like just extraordinary. And it doesn't take away from what he feels he missed. And that's to be grateful for. That really is, because I think to really look at ourselves, like I say, we can be grateful for our grief, because we grieve things only that we were grateful for, and then so to lose them. And so I just think there's a beautiful place for your exquisitely vulnerable reckoning that I just want to honor and bow to, because you are beautiful.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So, Kristi, For the next year, one of the books that I have selected is titled Hope for Cynics. And why is that? Because unfortunately, we live in an era and all over the world, I would say, in which cynicism, unfortunately, is quite widespread. They
Yeah.
feel that
Yeah.
human beings are not trustable, and the humans are not good. And of course, there are people who are feeding this kind of
Yes.
mindset, and as we know. And of course, and the idea that things will not be better in the future. So this all makes part of cynicism, and it's very difficult for us to build something good collectively if we are stuck in this kind of mindset. And I believe that the starting point should be to be hopeful. And so to be hopeful, of course, it's something that we can create a different reality, a better reality, if, of course, our actions together will make us moving toward that desired reality. So my question, Kristi, is what advice would you give to someone who is kind of stuck in cynicism, is struggling to feel grateful because it's so immersed in this negative view of life, of human beings? And in particular, if you could even talk about your experience personal, because we know that perhaps for you it's not been an easy time in the US with all this
Yeah.
polarization and very bad, very disrespectful policies for human beings,
Yeah.
and as you see, of course. And so, how is it that for you, not only for other people?
Oh, it's so hard. So, I want to apologize on behalf of the United States. Taking full responsibility for it, like, oh my Lord, what is happening here? Um, I do think that because if you look at the principles that I just talked about, a lot of what's happening is really going against exactly the principles that I hold most dear, right? So that have to do with love and appreciation and just all of what is so rich about life. Um, I listened to an interesting podcast. Thank you so much for being here, Juliana, whoever that is.
Juliana. Juliana.
Juliana. That's so easy to say. It just looks so complicated to pronounce. So here's one of the things. I listened to a podcast that was really beautiful that I loved because I don't consider myself an optimist or a pessimist, which I think is important. Optimism denies what's difficult in order to focus on what's positive, and pessimism denies what's positive in order to focus on what's difficult. So I think they both obscure really important aspects of reality. I'm a realist. I really love to be, but mostly I like to think of myself as a possibilist. So what's possible, right? And that's what's a possibilist is a hopeful person in the midst of all of what is difficult and all of what is beautiful. And so the this podcast though was interesting because it was about why it is important to be a skeptic. Skeptic being very different than a cynic. Skepticism is more positive than cynicism or pessimism. It's like right underneath optimism in a way. Like skepticism says, I don't know enough to I need more information. I'm skeptical until my mind can be changed. But a skeptic, this podcast said, actually says that your mind is open, right? So that I'm skeptical, but that means I still am willing to be persuaded. Okay, so that's one thing, which I think is really interesting and important. And so to help people sometimes, it's to make a leap to gratefulness from cynicism. Maybe there's important middle steps there that we can help people navigate, which is, more like around possibilism and even skepticism. Can you be open? Can you be open to this idea? This podcast is very good. So what I say is that I think is important. One of the quotes in the newer version of the book that I have is, um, I always felt like I owed so this is something you could say to somebody who really is dealing with cynicism, is I felt like I owed my suffering to the world because I love the world so much. And when the world is suffering, I felt like I needed to suffer for the world. And I was so um upset that it felt like it was a betrayal to the suffering of the world to be happy, to be grateful, to be hopeful, to even see possibility, that it was like a betrayal to the world. So this quote that I wrote that I has been used a lot and that I think is important is, when I fill my eyes, I may have said this the last time, I don't know. When I fill my eyes with wonder and my heart with love or joy, I do not betray my concerns for the world. I nourish my capacity to attend to them. This is so important. When I fill my eyes with wonder and my heart with love or joy, I do not betray my concerns for the world. I give myself greater ability to deal with those concerns for the world. I'm more effective. I'm more creative. I can envision more. I have more energy when my heart is alive in that space. So it's not that I deny that the world is so worthy of my great concern, but one of the ways that I take care of those concerns is to make sure that I also fill myself. Yes, I read the news and I know what's happening, but I make sure that I balance the attention that I give to beauty, joy, wonder, love, connection, hope, all the things that feed those other things, knowing that it gives me more ability, more bandwidth to be of service to the world I'm so concerned about. I want to be effective in serving the world. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
Kristi,
Wow,
it's a
it's
wonderful
wonderful.
quote and wisdom. And in that sense, I mentioned even in our last meeting, presidential meeting in Curitiba, in the south, one of the south states of Brazil, and I mentioned that a primary responsibility of a virtuous leader is to assess herself or himself every day for moments to feel what kind of energy, what kind of vibration. Because if you
Yes.
feel fear,
Yeah.
you will transmit that
Yeah.
fear for the people that you lead, and they will feel that. And it's not about ignoring what is
Right.
happening, but filter also to maintain your energy, your good energy to for you to be good with yourself, and also to
Yes.
transmit, to transfer it, because we know that feelings are contagious. So it's a responsibility for a
Yeah.
leader, right? What do you think?
Yes. Yes. And I want to say one other thing before we depart. Um, embodiment, right? So what we embody, how we come across, what we bring forward to the people who are in our universe. Um, what we embody is so important. One of the most powerful things to embody, though, is to be able to say, I am not feeling great about the world and I'm still grateful. So what I think the world is calling on us to be able to do is to actually say, I can hold both things at once. Because the most dangerous, to me, one of the most dangerous theories that's out there, and you'll see it, is that if you feel gratitude, you will not feel any other negative feeling. You won't feel a negative feeling. It actually will supplant and take away every negative feeling you could possibly feel. And I say that's the biggest load of honky bonka bonka bonka. Like, it's like, that's not a word, but it's basically just crap. And so to me, what I like to say is my heart is so big and so full that I can feel so many things at once. And that's what people need to know that they can experience and see in leaders is that we might feel scared and we still feel loving, grateful, engaged, positive. That it's the both and that is the radical proposition. It's both and that is really what people need to see and feel embodied right now, and that we need to feel ourselves. So even if we're feeling scared and hopeless, can we fill ourselves and our hearts with wonder and joy and love? Because that's what we deserve is to always have that balance happening. And that's what makes us passionate and engaged and effective in the world is to have the feelings of concern and seeing what needs to be healed and remedied at the same time that we have all the energy of beauty and awe and the passion of possibility. That is what will repair the world, not just people who seem la-di-da optimistic all the time. I think that also can degrade our experience of being trustworthy. We need to be trustworthy, which means we need to speak into people's true experience.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And Kristi, every piece of wisdom that you brought us, of course, there is a connection with Eastern philosophy and Eastern culture. And I think we have to overcome this dualistic thinking and
Yes.
integrate all parts of us. And just
Yes.
for you to know, because of that, because we have this belief that we have to, go beyond our minds and integrate all parts of ourselves, next year we are going to take 44 people to Japan for a
Oof.
2-week seminar. It's to be an immersion there to make a
If you
kind of a
want to join
Yeah.
us,
counterpoint. Yeah,
if you
yeah,
want to
I'll see
join
you
us,
there.
yeah.
yeah,
I'll see you
We
there.
we have two groups, one in May and the other one in
Oh,
June.
that's beautiful.
Yes, and it will be conducted by a Belgian who is a specialist in Japanese culture, and every single day will be exposed to a different
Wow.
aspects of the Japanese culture, art, and philosophy. And
And
to
Belgian culture too. That's pretty good. They make the best chocolate, beer, lace. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yes, yes, we have lived for a while there, so that's why you know him. And actually, Kristi, a couple of months ago, I have signed it up for your newsletter, and I received this kind of excerpt that I shared here in the chat. That it was very enlightening for me that you wrote that the
Oh,
term
good.
retreat is a kind of a misnomer because it's not for a kind of a distancing of life, but it's a way for us to be more connected with our intimacy. So we're going to rethink our concept here
Yay.
because we have these retreats, but it's not a way to be distant. It's a way to move towards, as you
yeah,
mentioned, to
Mm.
turn ourselves towards. So this is an excerpt of your newsletter that I
Thank
found it very
you.
enlightening. Yes, and then so I'd like to share here. And Kristi, what I can say is just that it was another memorable occasion, really a moment for our lifetimes. And on behalf of this group, the words are not enough to express our gratefulness. And so
Oh,
it's been such an
so
enriching, energizing, spiritual, and insightful conversation. And and then a conversation that will be an ongoing conversation, though. So
I hope
for the
so.
next years, we'll be very grateful if you accept our invitations. Being with you, it's always it's very
Anytime.
special.
I tell you, I feel the same thing and I feel so honored. I look around, I just feel such love and appreciation. It's like overwhelming for me and how open your hearts are and how committed you are to learning and being agents of transformation in the world. It's like I just feel such kinship. I am so grateful. You make me feel more hopeful. And that's a beautiful thing. And so carry on doing your great work. And if people want to sign up for my newsletter, maybe you could give them the little link how to do that on
Yes.
my website. I once a month I send out an email, and it's not too big a lift. Would love to have you guys part of it. And I feel really, I'm looking at all of your faces. Really, thank you so much for your attention And
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
it's hard to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Yes, but
Thank you very
maybe
much.
in Japan, what do you say?
Oh yeah. Okay.
See
Don't-
you soon.
Yeah, keep me on your list, okay?
Okay.
Big love to each
Big
of
love.
you.
And
Take care.
thank you everyone here, friends. It's been a kind of a perfect closing for our year of conversation. So thank you
Oh,
very much.
yeah,
And
enjoy the end of the year.
Thank
Kristi.
you.
I have arthritis in my hands, so they make a really funny heart.
Bye bye everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.